I'm trying to help you understand how to structure a fresh application after your first UK visitor visa refusal. So let's begin. So this is a letter that I have drafted, and this is a case of Amit, which is a person. I have obviously provided fictitious details. So, in this visa application, first of all, you need to understand that he applied standard visitor visa a month ago. It was refused on two grounds. First grounds was that he went to Schengen country like Belgium. He traveled there. He traveled there for 5 days. He came and went exactly for 5 days. But the visa case officer assessed his bank statement during that time and also his stamp because he traveled to the Schengen area. And he determined that he was working at that point of time and why he was getting a salary. And he assessed that on Schengen visa, you're not allowed to work, you're only allowed to visit. The case officer clearly made an error, which I'm going to explain at the bottom. That was the first ground of refusal, and he inferred that because you went to Belgium, you worked there, you're likely to do the same, which is not allowed under the visitor route. That was the first ground. The second ground was that there was a sudden deposit of around 8,93,750 rupees in last 28 days, unexplained. He also showed property as an asset, like to show that proof of funds, which is not allowed. And he did not declare who this person who paid him 8,93,750 rupees, who that person was, why they were paying, what is the relationship. So that were the two grounds of refusal. And now he's making a fresh visa application. And this is what this letter will look like, and this is how you should structure. First of all, you'll write your address name here, your to the visa case officer, UK visas and immigration. You will make a fresh application. The only difference would be when you're filling the visa case visa form this time, when you are asked, have you applied for the UK visa before? Answer yes. Has your visa been ever refused? The answer should be yes. When they ask you for the reference number, give the reference number which is written on the top right hand corner or on the left side of that letter in which the visa was refused. You get a letter by email. You put that letter there. Do not lie and say, I was never refused. Please put that reference number. And when you will go and fill up all the information, like a fresh application, you will enter all the details, who's funding it. This letter is the letter that is going to give context to the new case officer to look at this application in a fresh manner, and also looking at the fact that your visa was refused and what has changed, because it was written in the letter that if your circumstances do not change and you make a fresh application, your visa would likely be refused. We don't want that. So let us see. So I've written here fresh application, standard visitor visa, previous refusal dated 12th of January 2026. That clearly says that my visa was refused, because remember, everything is about credibility. I'm going to zoom it a bit. So you will give your passport number here, your GWF reference number, whatever the visa application long number that you get after payment should be here. Then your intended dates of travel, from which date to which date you're traveling, and you write in bulleted points. Like, it's always good to have a structure. Write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because it's easier to follow. Okay, so I say I respectfully submit this fresh application following refusal dated on 12th of January 2026. Copy enclosed. This copy would be uploaded in the TLS contact portal, right? So when you make a visitor visa application, you're asked to provide supporting documents. These documents are uploaded on a third party platform. This is what I'm referring to. This application addresses each previous refusal ground and demonstrate full compliance with the appendix visitor rules V4.2A to E and V4.3. Now, if you don't know these rules, I have made a video explaining how to make a fresh application and how do you meet each and every ground, because under these rules, the case officer is going to assess your application. If you do not meet any one of those grounds, they have the right to refuse your visa. So I'm providing a link of what V4.2A to E means and 4.3 means. It is in the link down below. Please watch that, and please watch that video. All evidence is indexed and cross-referenced. My purpose of travel is to attend selected matches of India versus England NatWest 2026 cricket series and to undertake tourism within the United Kingdom strictly during the authorized 14-day annual period. So within the first paragraph, you have to set that why you're applying, and you're applying after a refusal, so that the person would know clearly when you're going, what is the application reference number, and under which rules. Normally people are applying, I just want to visit the UK, right? But if you write this language, this one, let me highlight it, the visa case officer would be on guard. They would immediately get a perception that you understand the UK immigration laws. And mind you, these case officers are not lawyers. They are trained in the immigration laws in such a way that they know that if they have to refuse an application, they have a standard template to find a reason, and then they just apply that reason and then they assess it. Right now, there is no appeal. So if you write that you know this appendix in and out, you are already in a strong position that you are well aware of the UK immigration laws. Now, I have written my purpose of travel is this, to watch cricket series. Why this is relevant? Because you are specific. You're not just saying, I just want to go to the UK for standard visitor visa. No, I want to go to the UK to travel for India versus England NatWest 2026 series. And also I want to do tourism, which is to visit other places. So there are two purposes and these are allowed. And I've also stated that I have taken 14 days annual leave. Okay. Now next paragraph, compliance with the appendix, how I meet each and every rules. What people sometimes forget is when they make a fresh application, they only address the past refusal. Whereas what you need to understand is when you make a fresh application, you have to comply with the current V4.2A to E, that how you meet right now, and also the past one, because they can obviously refuse. Like for example, you said I have met the previous grounds, you made a mistake, or you are providing extra proof of why you are making this application, but on one of the other grounds you have not provided sufficient documentation. They can again refuse your application, and once two times it's rejected, it is almost impossible, right? So it's important that you address first as a fresh application and then the grounds of refusal. Now, V4.2A states intention to leave the UK. So the rule simply means is that you're a genuine visitor, you will come to the UK and then you will go back. And to go back, you should have strong ties to the home country, which means something that will compel you to go back to your home country. It could be a family that you married, you got children, you got a job, you got a project, you got a property, you got loans, whatever it is, but you have to provide a proof. You cannot be subjective. So I'm writing here, I am in full time employment as a cloud infrastructure developer. Let me highlight that with Apple India since 15th of February 2024 in New Delhi office. Okay. So first of all, you say you're gainfully employed. Okay. I have approved annual leave from 1st July to 14th of July. Mandatory return to work is on 16th of July. That means he's probably taken 15 days, but one day he is kept for jet lag. And HR signed leave confirmation is included, which means on a company letterhead, it is confirmed that Amit Oberoi, working a cloud infrastructure developer, is on annual leave and is visiting the UK, and he has to return to work on 16th of July. And they can contact them with the email address there. Please do make sure that there are no publicly available email addresses listed on the letterhead like yahoo.com or gmail.com. It has to be your work address, and make sure the contact details like mobile of the HR person are provided, and let the HR person know that you're applying for the visa, you might be contacted. Okay. Now what he has done is, here he has provided evidence. So let's look at that employment contract, that I am drawing an annual salary of rupees 48 lakhs plus bonus incentives. So that will show that he's on a handsome salary. HR approval letter, he's provided last 6 months pay slips and last 6 months bank statement showing salary credits. Now this is extremely important. Now when you get a pay, it is net of taxes. That means taxes have been deducted. So the amount that is written on the pay slip should be the exact amount to the nearest penny entering the bank account. You must not do that. You get salary in a different bank account and you're showing different bank account to provide the proof of travel in the UK. You could, but they want to see that there is a pay slip, there is an annual contract, and the net salary is exactly what is getting credited in the bank account. And if you're applying today, we are in February, you should be showing January, December, November, October, like that, right? So it should be last 6 months. And please make sure that the bank statements are not edited. They look at even the page numbers. Like if one page is missing, they have the right to refuse you. So please make sure you do not edit the bank statements. He writes, my employment is stable, continuing. I'm contractually required to resume my role immediately upon return. My professional obligations compel me to return to India. As I told you, that in order intention to leave the UK, your HR letter says that you have to return back, you have authorized leave. So there is a clear indication that you are drawing a salary, you have proof. Now, if you are someone who wants to show additional proof, you can show that you got children, and if you have children, you're married, and you can show that I've got two children, say A and B, and there is a proof of that I'm their father, their birth certificate, and they are actually, their fees is paid in this school. You can see a debit of X amount of money each and every month, and you can show that. That also shows that you've got legal obligation to return back to India or your home country. Okay, so that's ground one. And the ground two is no intention to make UK my main home through frequent or successive visits. So I've written in short, basically they don't want that you come, the visa is granted for 6 months, but you come for 5.5 months and then you return back and thinking like, I have complied with the regulation that my visa was issued for 6 months, but you stayed there for 5.5 months. If you repeat that, your domicile means your tax residency would change after 183 days, right? So what they want is you come and go. So it take 2 weeks. If you had two trips in a year for 2 weeks, that's completely okay. Even if you came for 1 month or 2 months, but usually they tend to look at that if you're gainfully employed, who's going to give you leave for 2 months? That is not normal, right? So normally people come for 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and if they come again and again, that's okay. But they should not get a feeling that you're trying to make UK your main home. Okay, so this is a single visit, short visit for 14 days. I'm saying that my center of life remains in India. I've got employment, immediate family residing in India, resident address in Gurgaon, ongoing financial commitments. I have no history of UK overstays and no pattern of repeated UK travel. Because you're applying for the second time, first was refused. So this is what you're showing. What you could do, I would say no intention of making UK my home. Here, he should have add. You can add like, I would add like this. I have traveled to Belgium in October. Apologies, I have to make it capital. Belgium in October 2024 for 5 days. 5 days, and I returned India within that time frame, showing that I am a genuine visitor. Now, genuine visitor is a term. Sorry, uh, I just, for example, so I had to correct the spelling. So, genuine visitor is a term that is seen. The rules that I've been talking about, V4.2 A to E, that actually describe what is a genuine visitor, right? So I'm trying to say that I traveled to Belgium, and this is why I went on time, I came back on time. So because of the fact I went to Belgium also, I will do the same in UK, that I will go for 14 days and then I will return. And that becomes a proof because they will see the stamp on your passport, like your passport, entry date in Belgium and exit date in Belgium, right? This is how you need to show. Now, the next point is permitted activities. Now, permitted activities in visitor route means that you are there for the purpose that you've said, tourist, to visit, right? Some people can come on medical visit, that is a medical visitor visa. Some people come on marriage visitor visa, that is for separate application. Some people come for academic research also, and some people come for paid engagements. But those are exceptional items which I'm not going to discuss, but I will give you an idea. For example, a cricket commentator who comes to the UK for commentary for Sky News or someone for 1 month, and they are allowed certain paid engagements. But you, as a tourist, you are not allowed to work. You're not allowed to go and start selling and start earning money. You're not allowed that. You're there to watch, see, and enjoy, and then come back, right? So I have written here the purpose of visit is this: attendance at India versus England NatWest 2026 cricket matches, selected fixtures only. That means if the series is for 2 months, you're not going to stay there for 2 months. You will only go for 14 days. And tourism in London, Oxford, Brighton, and Kent. What he's trying to say is, besides the cricket matches, I'm going to visit these places. Okay, this adds Specificity. I do not intend to attend full series as my authorized leave is limited to 14 days. Again, step back and think what this person is doing and how I'm writing. I am building a picture that I'm a credible, genuine visitor, that I will go and watch matches, then I will do some travel and tourism, and then I will return back. And I'm reiterating that I do not intend to watch the full series, and my authorized leave is only for 14 days. Okay, then you can show any match ticket reservations if you have. If you haven't got the ticket, it's completely okay. You can provide an itinerary that I have got match at the Lords, Oval Kennington, at Leeds, Manchester, in Birmingham, right? You provide the itinerary and the from the ICC website. Now, in travel itinerary, you can show that in London I'm going to stay in this hotel, in Birmingham I'm going to stay in this hotel, and in Manchester I'm going to stay in this hotel. You do not have to book the hotel. Just go to booking.com, select the date of the match, arriving a day early or too early, staying for 2 nights, and see what is the estimated charge. And then you have a list of different cities, different charges, and you add them together. Accommodation is covered in that. Now, travel itinerary also include a return flight, which means that you would um, fly from India, for example, New Delhi to London, right? So there should be a return flight for that. Do not book that. Just get the estimate on, booking.com or skyscanner.net. Once you get that, you then also show itinerary that if you have to go to London to Manchester, you're going to take a flight. What is the estimated price? Go to easyjet.com, ryanair.com, or britishairways.com, get the itinerary and add the cost of that, right? And the flight quotations, you can show that. This way, they will know that you have a proper plan to attend those fixtures. Do not make the mistake of booking confirmed flights, because it is highly advisable that unless the visa has been granted, do not make concrete reservations by paying upfront. Okay, cool. Now, all these activities strictly fall within the permitted visitor activities. I am confirming that I know what I'm doing, and these are the things, right? No prohibited activities, which means I will not take any work, paid or unpaid work, undertake business activities outside the permitted scope, study or access public funds. Now, in my videos, what I made a video about business visit visa, and I've also made a video about standard visitor visa. Now, both are visit visas, but the purposes are quite different. What I don't want you to do is make a mistake that you try to explore business opportunities, so you bring some sample with you in your luggage. You might be stopped, because then they will say, you applied for standard visitor visa to watch cricket matches. Why are you bringing these samples? Can you explain that, right? And if they're not satisfied, they would deport you back from London Heathrow, whichever airport you are, back to the country you've come, because they're not satisfied. So please make sure that you do not take any business activities, if you're on a standard visitor visa as a tourist. If you are coming on a business visit, then you should select standard visitor visa, and the sub purpose is business visit. Then you can't say, oh, I'm coming here to watch cricket matches, right? Then you say, I have client meetings, I have to meet this client to show my machines, or to see a sample of machines that I want to import, in this way, right? I'm not here to study, I'm not here to access public funds. Public funds are that if your money is finished, then you will depend on them for your trip, which is not allowed. Now, sufficient funds. This was one of the grounds on which his visa was refused. So, what they want is that you should be able to pay for the entire trip, reasonable expenses yourself, without being dependent on public funds, right? So first of all, he has to show in this letter that he has enough money to fund for this trip. Obviously, he's going for 14 days, so you would have visa cost, you would have flights, you have accommodation, and then you have daily living allowance of travel, food, and any other shopping that you want to do, right? So he shows that his monthly salary is this, which is evident from payslips, consistently credited in 6 months, which is shown in the bank statements. Personal savings, you can show that savings like mutual funds. So please make sure that you show the entire period, say 6 months or 1 year, up to 1 year, that you held these funds. This is the account where it shows the clear account number, which institution, and your name is there, your tax registration number like Aadhaar card or PAN card, whatever it is, and you show clearly that you got so many units, and you're selling this many units on this and this date, and this was debited from this account after brokerage fees and got credited into your bank statement in month say 4 or 5, and that is the credit, because they should be able to see that he had or she had this many mutual funds he sold X amount of units, he got X amount of money net of brokerage fees, and that money, once debited from this account, is the exact money that entered your personal bank account, right, to fund the trip. For example, current liquid balance means your bank balance they would want to see. Also, when you're filling up a standard visitor form, they will ask you what is your monthly average expenditure. So, in order to calculate that, what I would do is I would take at 6 months statements, and I would look at recurring patterns like rent if you pay, or EMIs or mortgage that you pay, then your mobile bill, your if you support your parents, anything that you do, right, that is repeating on consistent basis, like school fees, or credit card bill or something, you need to give them, you add all the 6 months together and divide it by 6, and then you will get a average monthly expenditure. You should write it in the cover letter that my monthly expenditure, which includes A, B, C, D, E, and E. So what I can do is I can write here my monthly average expenditure is, say, rupees, for example, 75,000. That includes rent, financial support to my wife if you have, and children, groceries, and credit card payment of credit card payment, something like this, something as simple as that. If you write that, my apologies again, this happens. So something simple like that, and then you can show your savings, right? How you're going to fund the trip. So now what you will do is, say, flight will cost you rupees, say, 92,000 rupees, for example, via, say, air, yeah, or British Airways, and then you can write booking.com quote. Then accommodation, you can say in total it will cost you rupees 4 lakhs via, again, booking.com, and hotels like Premier. So you will stay at Premier Inn, Holiday Inn, quotes, right? And then daily expenses. Then you say, and on an average, I'm expecting rupees 15,000 rupees times, or you can just say 15 to 20. So let's put it as 15,000 rupees. That includes your local travel and food times 14 nights is equal to X, whatever the amount of money is, rupees, write it. And that's based on for TFL. So tube travel means train, then food, etc. You write like this. You don't have to show any detail about that, but this is a good amount. I would say 15 to 20,000 per person, for 14 nights. And what is the total? And then the projected total, whatever comes, write it in rupees also, and also in pound sterling by converting from xc.com or oanda.com. Okay. So this estimate should be on the date that you're submitting the application. So go to xc.com, find out the rate, convert it. Okay. Now my available funds, liquid funds, exceed the total cost of the visit and remain sufficient for the travel. What you should also say, the total cost, if for example, total cost of this trip is rupees 12 lakh 85,000, for example, of which, or say of which, my father, Mr. ABC, whatever the name is, has funded rupees 8 lakh 93,750 rupees as a birthday present. I've addressed my relationship under V 4.3, so under rule 3, and his identification Sorry. So give me 1 second. I have this problem here. Say instead of identification, you can say is passport copy, signed declaration, and his current bank statement. 6 months. I mean, you should, because you should show them that he's your sponsor, your relationship. So usually what you can do is you can show that how he's related to you. You either need to have a personal relationship like husband wife, mother father, or uncle if you have, or professional relationship. Say for example you borrowed money from a professional lender, right? If you took it, right, as a EMI, that you've taken a personal loan from a bank especially for this trip, and you will intend to pay this much amount of money for this trip, and that's perfectly valid as long as you disclose that you took a personal loan, that is why you got the credit. Here is the agreement copy, here is the rate of interest, here is the monthly payment, right? Here his father has done that because this was one of the reasons why his visa was refused. Now this is the most important part. This is where I would address in the letter why the previous refusal, how I have rectified it, and what has been changed in my application so far. Okay, so we will write as a separate tab rectification of previous financial concerns in visa decision dated 12th of January 2026, reference number so and so. I give this reference number because this is the reference number which was given for refusal. Like there's a reference number of a letter. The prior refusal referred to reliance on property, non-liquid asset, and deposit of 8,93,000 rupees 750, which means that in order to show that he can afford this trip, instead of showing liquid funds, he showed a property that this property is worth 5 crore rupees. That's absolute garbage. It's not relevant. It's not liquid, right? And second, there was a sudden deposit, unexplained deposit of 893,750. That's a lot of money, right? And that he did not explain who the money is from. Why have they given this money? And it was unexplained income. So even though the money is sitting in his bank account, it is unexplained and does not add credibility. One thing I forgot to say, you should say here explicitly, my personal funding for this trip is rupees 12 lakh 85,000 minus rupees 8 lakh 93,750. What whatever the delta is, that is what you have to afford, right? So you can say here father as sponsor, and right, and you can write whatever the number is, say rupees, and this is my personal share of trip cost. If you do that, then you have completely given a clear picture. Now let's come here. I'm saying I no longer rely on property as proof of funds. So that means I will no longer be relying on this part to show my affordability for this trip. The deposit of 893, the deposit of 893 has transfer has now been fully evidenced. The transfer was a birthday gift from my father Sanjay Oberoi. Supporting documentation includes, so what am I providing? Signed sponsorship declaration from your father, father's bank statement showing debit from the HDFC bank. So you have to give the bank account number, that on this and this date he transferred me this money, showing clear reference number. My bank SBA bank statement showing corresponding credit, which was shown that you got the money. And then transfer narration means usually when we are transferring the money to someone, we are asked to provide a reference. So his father had written Amit's UK trip birthday present, right? He has written that. So when you provide your sponsor's bank statement, if there is a reference clearly written there, it lends credibility. So whenever, if you need, say, any money from anyone, right? So if you are a husband and wife funding together and transferring money only into one account, or from your personal account into one joint account, clearly write a reference when you're making the transfer, so that once it is on the bank statement, you cannot amend it. It is there, right? So it will lend credibility. If you're a husband and wife, I just got a query where one husband is also traveling and wife is also traveling. They're traveling from different countries and their finance are mixed together. So if you have individual accounts and then you have a joint account, and you want to show your joint account as proof, what you need to do is you need to clearly say that we've got two separate accounts, one joint account, and for this trip we're going to be spending money from the joint account. But the money, the sources of that money into joint account is coming from account A and account B, like that. And then proof of relationship, because in this rule, there is V 4.3 states the relationship has to be either professional or personal. So because your father is a family member, you can say that my passport's last page shows my father's full name, that confirms that he's my father and there is a personal relationship. Okay, so that is the first ground nullified. All the funds are liquid, relied upon, are traceable, lawfully sourced, held in compliant financial institutions, which simply means is that you have not taken money from institution that is banned. Everybody knows HDFC Bank or a State Bank of India, whichever bank is, that it is a compliant financial institution. Now, rule V 4.3, this is important because it says that sponsor is my father, genuine parental relationship. He is resident in India, not in breach of UK immigration laws. His financial capacity is demonstrated through 6 months of bank statements. The contribution is partial. Look, I am very careful about the language, and why I'm saying that, as I showed you above here, that here that the total trip cost is 12 lakh 85,000 rupees, whatever is in pound sterling. Out of that, 8 lakh 93,750 is from my father, and the remainder is from me. So that's why it's not fully funded by the third party, it's partially funded. So that's why you need to write it absolutely clearly. Here, is partial. I remain financially capable. So your salary, your annual contract, and any savings that you have. And sometimes people confuse that the sponsor is only based in the UK. No, sometimes you can have somebody who's a family visitor, who's settled in the UK, who's a British citizen. So then they have to show their documentation if they're funding you. But sometimes you could have a sponsor in your family. You're unemployed, and your father says, "Go and have a good time. I'm going to pay for your trip." Right? So therefore, you need to prove that your sponsor, where the sponsor is, you need to give the declaration also, right? This completely meets that thing, that he's resident in India, he's not in breach of any UK immigration laws. Obviously, he's never traveled to the UK, he's got a passport, and his bank financial capacity is demonstrated through his bank account. Now, reason why the father has to give declaration is also to prevent that somebody hacked into the father's bank account, transferred the money, and said that he sponsored me. So they want to make sure that there is a signed declaration, and person who has given the money is actually agreeing to it. Okay. Now come down. Now there was another point of Belgium. So one of the reasons for rejection was the case officer had made an error. So let's read this. The previous refusal noted a salary credited to my Indian bank account during my visit to Belgium in October 2024. Let's break that. So he visited Belgium for 5 days in October 2024 for 5 days. Okay. And the person who was assessing, he inferred, means he assumed like that he is in Belgium. Why is he getting the salary while he's on vacation? Right? He did not see the fact that this Amit was a permanent employee of Apple. So he is getting 28 days of annual leave. And when he is on leave, he will get paid. So there is nothing that he's working in Belgium for a Belgium company, right? Schengen says you cannot work on that, uh, that visa, which is the Schengen visa. But there is nothing prohibiting him from accessing his emails, answering emails. He should not be working in that country for any other employer, right? So he got this salary because he's a permanent employee, right? And inferred that this constituted employment in the Schengen state, which is wrong. With respect, this represents an error this represents an error of law. The UK visa case officer misinterpreted the routine payroll authorized during the authorized leave and improperly extrapolated it to a UK compliance list. Now, let me simplify it because I've written it in a technical language. What I'm saying is, as I told you before, these UK case officers who are assessing your visa applications, they are not lawyers. Okay, some of them have even not even finished universities, but they have been trained under the UK immigration laws. They're really good people, but they are told a certain structure to assess your credibility, whether you are a genuine visitor or not. Okay, and I mean this with utmost respect. They're fantastic people, but sometimes, being human, they can make mistakes. They can sometimes bring their own bias. They can sometimes assume something and ignore the facts. For example, they did not see that Amit is permanent employee of Apple, right? He went for 5 days and he came back in 5 days. He ignored that and he assumed the fact that he got salary in October 2024, that means he was working in Belgium. That is not true, right? So I have said that because there is no right of appeal, I am stating here categorically that this represents an error of law. The UK visa case officer misinterpreted routine payroll during the authorized leave. Authorized leave means you got the permission from your employer to go on vacation, right? And improperly extrapolated means, extrapolation means you know 1, 2, 3, 4, and you want to assume what is likely to be 5, 6, and 7, right? So he assumed because of the fact you worked in Belgium and you got a salary, you will do the same in the UK. That is called extrapolation, right? So I pointed out the error. So I said I traveled to Belgium from 10th to 15th of October as a tourist while on formally approved paid annual leave from my permanent employment with Apple India. I undertook no work, provided no services, and engaged in no business activity in Belgium. I returned to India as declared on my Schengen application and did not overstay. As a permanent employee, I am entitled to 28 days of annual paid leave, which is evident from the annual contract, which we are providing as an evidence. The salary credited during this period was for authorized leave, not for work in Belgium. Receipt of home country salary while on leave does not constitute employment under Schengen law or UK visa rules. The prior decision conflated leave remuneration with employment activity in Schengen, which is legally inaccurate or incorrect. An employer confirmation letter is included verifying approved leave, absences overseas. So basically, I've said they made an error. Then I provided that I got an authorized letter saying, yes, Amit was on vacation for 5 days. He got the salary because he's a permanent employee, and there was nothing wrong in that. So when you attach that, and when they're looking of the entire application, the fresh application and the previous grounds of refusal, right? So you have said, I not only meet right now what the requirements of V4.2A to E and V4.3, I also meet the previous grounds of refusal that I have rectified them. Like I did not include property now in my liquid assets. Okay. So now the final declaration: all information provided is truthful, completed, and supported by verifiable documentary evidence. This application contains materially clarified and expanded evidence. Now, this material does not mean raw material; it means important, right? This application contains materially clarified, expanded evidence addressing each and every refusal concern. Why this is important? That you're saying that because when the refusal letter comes, this says unless your circumstances materially change, if you apply again, your visa is most likely to be refused or may be refused. Now, may is discretionary. It is not, it will be refused, it could be refused. Now, in order to eliminate such doubt, you need to clearly say that you've clarified the ground for refusal by supporting with a valid explanation and evidence. You cannot be subjective that I think you made a wrong decision without providing evidence. Okay. Conclusion: this application satisfies V4.2A intention to leave, V4.2B no residence UK pattern, permitted purposes no prohibited activity, sufficient liquid funds, third party requirements. So I've concise. I respectfully request that this application be considered on its merit in accordance with the Appendix V. Yours faithfully, Amit O'Brien. Now, if you go up, this is the structure that you should be following, in my opinion. Now, I would urge you not to, because many people ask me that how can you help me with, how to answer this and how to write that. Understand this thing. As a lawyer, my job is to, assist people, and I cannot do that without providing a proper consultation and looking at the evidence. Now, I can help you in preparing the application if for the filing for service only, and ensure that you make a solid application. Providing such letter does not guarantee you that you will be granted the visa, but it solidifies your chances of securing a visa if you're transparent and you genuinely provide information in accordance with the UK immigration laws. Now, there is so much of information that I've provided. It is invaluable to somebody who has, got a visa refusal. Now, if you would like, if you like my help, you can obviously come to me for online consultation. Obviously, the case becomes difficult once you have the first refusal, therefore the fees goes up. But I have provided you this free insight, so that if you want to make the effort yourself, you can do so. I would not advise it, because once you are refused twice, it becomes extremely difficult that you would be granted visa again, unless you find a reason like a judicial review on the human right grounds, which will become extremely expensive. Okay, now another tip for you is, when the visitor visa is refused, the, prior to 2012, there was appeal that was allowed in first tier tribunal in the UK. You could do appeal in writing or orally also. Now there is no such thing. Now you have an option in legal remedy like a judicial review, which is extremely expensive, and that will cost you several thousands of pounds. What I would urge you to do is, don't rush to apply. Think through what reasons you've been refused on. If they're stated that you have made fraudulent documentation, misrepresentation, or you have lied on your form, then I would not recommend that you make another application, because you have destroyed your credibility. And for them to say that you have falsified, unless and until you have a concrete proof that you've not done so, you should not apply. If you believe that they have made an error, in like in this case of Amit, then absolutely you should do that, but you should consult an expert, and you should take time to complete the documentation. And a cover letter could be the difference between whether you get the visa or not. Right, I hope you've liked the video. I made a lot of effort in this video to draft this letter. And one piece of advice: please do not make the mistake of scrolling this letter second by second and trying to copy that, because each and every case is different. And let me show you the grounds of refusal also. And you must make sure that you tailor your application according to the grounds of refusal and how you meet the current grounds. The one thing that will really help you is looking into index of the language v4.2a to e and v4.3. There's simple 5 to 6 rules, and they just want to make sure that you are a genuine visitor who has the money. You will go and come back, you will not break the conditions, and you will not overstay, or you will not go several times and stay for longer on the pretext of visitor when you're not a visitor. Okay, so please do subscribe to my channel. I hope you've liked my video, and I want to thank each and every subscriber who has given me encouragement and comments in the section, especially related, how to make a British citizenship application, how to do a standard visitor visa online application. I'm so overwhelmed by the support that you're giving me, and I just want to continue with this fantastic work to help you. But I just have one request. I just want to make sure that you understand that I have some limitations, that I cannot write big comments in the YouTube when you ask me a question. And sometimes it does require a consultation, which is paid. So if you believe that you can do it yourself, fantastic. But if you believe that you need assistance, I am more than happy to consult, and you can contact me. Till next time, take care and have safe travels.